It is common knowledge that education is the key for a better future. And a key to exist, there must be luck. Education comes with a price, then that is the time you are willing to burn and sacrifice. It takes 10,000 hours of practice to master a given field. Its common rule of thumb. According to Plessis 2015, some might take 10,001 hours, even longer. Some might not even understand the basis, even if they try so hard. Some can't not follow the simplest instruction. These are the signs of weakness in one or more cognitive skills. Many students become frustrated and find schoolwork difficult because they lack the cognitive skills required to process information properly. Study shows that cognitive skills are the determining factor of an individual learning. Cognitive ability composed of mental skills separating the good learners from so-so learners. On the start of the year 2020, on January 30, the Philippine Department of Health reported the first case of the root of this pandemic. Against COVID-19 pandemic set out profound effects and various impacts on almost all sectors in the country. As an outturn, widespread disruption such as travel restriction, global economic recession, and great downside of the education department closure of schools will list virus inflict damage, cease usual activities. Department of Education along with the government took measures to prevent post of the pandemic year until pandemic is resolved. The website calls a freeze classes until 2021. The Department of Education maintains education of millions of Filipino students. So, I am Janarina Michelle, came up to a study entitled Education Amidst Pandemic Significance of Cognitive Ability from STEM Students of Marinduque National with the New Learning System School Year 2021-2022. It's important to note that the foremost objective of the study is to determine the significance cognitive ability in complying with the new normal education for science, technology, engineering, mathematics, or STEM students of Marinduque National High School. Likewise, this study will find out the mean cognitive ability of STEM students of MNHS. Also, this research study gives emphasis on the minimum cognitive ability of students required to perform best in the new learning system. And the end of the study, students will probably gain consciousness about their cognitive ability and to attempt to boost it up. Furthermore, poor cognitive ability can be refined with appropriate lifestyle option practices. Statement of the program. At the early start of school year 2021 and 2022, many students being shocked with the sudden alteration struggle to the new mode of learning. The wide-scale effect of the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted the education system worldwide. To deal with the uproar on education of millions of students Filipino, the researchers seek to find ways to counter the disturbance of possible global pandemics yet to come. This study delves to determine the significance of cognitive ability from STEM students of Marinduque National High School to comply with the new education system. In this study aims to bestow enlightenment to the following questions at mind. 1. In what ways that cognitive ability affects students' performance in a daily basis of modular learning? 2. What is the experience in adapting to the new normal education with poor cognitive ability? 3. How does cognitive ability in learning relate to the academic achievement of a STEM student? Hypothesis. Null hypothesis. No, cognitive ability affects the students in a daily basis of modular learning. Alternative hypothesis. Yes, cognitive ability affects the students in a daily basis of modular learning. The results of this study which disclose how important cognitive ability is for a STEM student in adapting in a new normal education. Benefited by the study are follows. The students, the respondents themselves, are likely benefited most. This study will help students, especially STEM students of MNHS, gain better understanding how significant cognitive ability are learning. With that, students will gain consciousness and develop in their cognitive ability. For the teachers, the study will serve as stepping stone fully understanding students' capabilities and learning. This will guide the teachers better way in assessing students' performance by considering the level of students' cognitive ability. For the parents or the guardians, this study will be educational since they play a vital role of the cognitive development of their children. This would as well accompany them in nurturing education their children. For the researchers, the results of the study will greatly beneficial not only to the present but to the future research as well. This study may widely use reference that can be applied on different studies related to the application cognitive skills in learning. Conceptual framework of the study. Input, cognitive aptitude and achieve mark. Insights of the important cognitive ability. Ability in learning, experience of adapting to the new normal education for STEM students. Process, collecting and analyzing data. Output, significance of cognitive ability of STEM students nationalized Marinduque National High School to comply with the new learning system. Methodology, research design. The researchers utilize a quantitative assessment to evaluate the results of the study. Numerical data are acquired and collected by the researcher. This research study focuses on the respondents' personal thoughts, views, insights, opinions, and experiments. These research studies will fall under the category of case study, which a detailed study of a specific subject such as a person, group, place, event, organization, or phenomenon. Research instrument. The data was gathered by the use of questionnaires or survey forms and cognitive skill tests to measure the estimated cognitive ability of the respondents. The questionnaire, constructed by the researcher, is a 10-item questionnaire that will be the instrument to find out the opinion and insight of the respondents. Research population and sample. The study will focus on the significance of cognitive ability for STEM students of Marinduque National High School to comply with the new learning system. They will also be the ones to fill out the questionnaires as respondents because they will be ones offered the information needed of the study. The researcher will select 50 students of grade 12 STEM of Marinduque National High School, take part in the procedure, and will ask them to answer the questionnaires with the necessary information. Data collection and procedure. In order for the researchers to gather the data needed for the researcher, identify the research locale and the respondents of the study. Grade 12 STEM students are the respondents of the study since the total students of STEM students are 150. The researcher used systematic sampling, choose from samples in every ninth of their target population until they achieve their desired number of respondents. After the construction of the research instrument, the questionnaires and the tests were distributed online by the use of Google Form. The collection of data lasted for 2 weeks and estimated total of 50 respondents. Data analysis. Once the data was collected, it was analyzed and interpreted. The analysis of data was conducted by means of getting its percentage. Interpretation of data was done by identifying any recurring themes throughout and highlighting any similarities and differences in the data graphs and tables were also utilized in order to present data logically and effectively exhibit important points. Results and discussion. The gathered information and results as well as the interpretation of the data was correspond to the statement of the problem are discussed in this chapter. Figures are used to present data and the analysis and their interpretation are done after graphical presentation. After the collection of data and throughout investigation, the results obtained were recorded and interpreted. The information gathered from the questionnaires and interviews was assessed. Each response was tallied in order to evaluate the result of the study. Observations and findings from the data gathered are reflected in the preceding text and figures below. The figure above shows performance of the STEM students in the new learning system in the first grading period of school year 2021 and 2022 of Marinduque National High School. It shows that among all 50 respondents, none have very poor performance. The one with the most number of tallies with a total of 28 or about 56% of the respondents are students with poor performance. On the other hand, in the new learning system, only 14 or about 32% of the respondents perform average and above. This implies that most of the respondents find it difficult to comply with the new learning system. It's likely that sudden change of education sudden cause them perform less than when they are at school. The respondents were also asked how they find the new learning system. 42 respondents answered difficult, and only 8 respondents answered excellent. Most of which who answered difficult are working alone without any supervision or assistance. The sudden shift to digital or modular learning can have diverging effects on children or adults. In the case of adult learning, from families to different socioeconomic and educational background by Bayako 2020. This must be why the most number of tallies are students performed poorly. The figure above shows the relationship between cognitive ability performance of respondents. It indicates 20 or 40% of the total respondents have an average cognitive ability, and 65 or 13 of those respondents got an outstanding mark, while 30 or 60% of the total respondents achieved below average cognitive ability, and only 36.7 or 11 of those respondents got an outstanding mark. It is clear respondents with above average cognitive ability dominate against respondents with below average cognitive ability in terms of performance. Deducing, it infers that every student of high school cognitive ability marked below outstanding. There are 3 students without outstanding mark. Conversely, for every low cognitive ability with outstanding mark, there are 10 students with poor performance. This data alone shows the significance of cognitive ability in learning, especially complying with the sudden change of function in education of the student. Moreover, most respondents wrote justification that to improve cognitive ability in order to perform well in the new learning system, or cognitive ability is really necessary in complying with the new learning system. Conclusion. The preceding chapters probed how significant cognitive ability is from STEM students of Marinduque National High School to comply with the new learning system for academic 2021-2022. The data gathered from the respondents indicates their cognitive ability and how relative it is to their performance in their education, especially in the time of crisis. Moreover, findings of the research answer the question stated in this study. Based on the findings of the study, it is therefore concluded that cognitive ability of a STEM student is not just necessary but a need In order to comply with the new learning system, cognitive abilities must function well from STEM students to efficiently and easily read, think, prioritize, understand, plan, and resolve problems fundamentally. Cognitive abilities are skills, most principal skills a STEM student should utilize in order to perform admirably in the new learning system. When cognitive abilities are low, academic learning is at best a struggle. Due to the sudden shift at the very first endeavor of students at the first quarter of the new learning system, STEM students of Marinduque National High School find it difficult to adjust new learning system. It is likely that students with relative low cognitive ability struggle more in order to cope up with the lessons. In addition, there are many students possible that STEM students may face on the long run with poor cognitive abilities such as hard time focusing, slow paced learning, unable to understand the lesson, poor performance, etc. As a hypnosis, STEM students find it difficult to manage with the new learning system with a poor cognitive ability. From the outcome of the study, it's notable that the greater the cognitive ability, the greater the performance and remarks are. Due to the impact of the pandemic, students are tried to exert more effort than the usual education system. But whatever the effort may be, it is meaningless when the main idea of the action is not understood properly. That is why STEM student is to prosper in the league of academics. Their cognitive ability is required to be relative high. Greater cognitive ability comes with greater understanding, process, processing, processing, attention, inhibition, memory, flexibility, and many more cognitive skills that are necessary for an effective learning, thus a high academic achievement. Fortunately, for students with low cognitive ability, cognitive skills can be developed through training and proper progress. Recommendation. Based on the findings and shortcomings in the study, the following recommendations were drawn. Since the results of the study prove that cognitive ability is significant in learning, students should develop and nurture their cognitive ability early on their education. In relation to the first recommendation, parents as well as the teachers should find ways to improve their children's or students' cognitive ability. For the reason that sample was minimal to present, study should have greater sample size. The future researchers should look deeper into the detail of cognitive ability and find the related aspects. Thank you.